Good evening, viewer. My name is Sodama Chris. We are here live on the BFTV, and on the BFTV, we try to see how we can speak out some issues concerning our country and concerning us as an individual. So you can be part of this discussion by dialing the number that is displayed on the screen. You know that beginning from the government to an individual and to the public, there are so many things that is happening and which we tend to speak out. Some at time we doesn't have the opportunity, but on the BFTV, that is what we are trying to do here. So if you want to be part of us, you can contribute and then make your perspective known. And today at the studio we have with me Mr. Emmanuel Michael, who will also give us his perspective concerning what is happening to us, and as well as Mr. Energy Gabriel, who will also be giving us his own take concerning our topic of discussion today. Like I earlier mentioned, I have today with me Emmanuel Michael, who is a public analyst, and also I have Energy Gabriel, who is a public affairs analyst as well. So they will be giving us their perspective. The topic of our discussion today is the government has constantly been borrowing, and if you discover from not only from 2015 alone, but the borrowing process has been there. And then we know that the government borrowed to finance so many capital projects that will be beneficiary to each citizen. But most of the time, we tend not to see them. Most of the time, we see them. But we have at the stadium today, they will be giving us their perspective. If they have been implementing, if they have been using that money they are borrowing judiciously, or they have not been using it well. So I will begin from my distinguished colleague, Energy Gabriel, who will be giving us his own perspective. Mr. Energy, are you very concerned about the borrowing process that has been happening in our country?
Thank you very much for having me. Well, it actually calls for concern. We are not saying generally borrowing is bad, but the reason for borrowing is what become our problem today. Individual borrow, society borrow to live a better life, but there are reasons for borrowing. You don't borrow to eat, just like what most of our brothers are doing in most of the African countries and Nigeria in particular. You borrow to trade so that you can now finance your debts. But an issue where you borrow and you are not using it to trade, it becomes a problem. The question is, where will you bring the money to pay back? From who give you the money? If you borrow, you are a creditor. Sorry, you are a debtor. And the one who give you the money is a creditor. And there was an agreement. You reach a mutual agreement on how to return the money. And you don't borrow and go and keep it somewhere. You borrow to use it to trade around. But our Nigeria scenario, which I am coming to, is we have been borrowing. It's not bad to borrow. Even from the people we are borrowing from. There was sometimes in their economy life that they also borrow. They also have an assistance from other countries or brothers. But our Nigeria situation is, when we borrow, we did not use it for what we have been borrowed for. Most time, when we present our annual budget, we say we need so money to finance the budget. Fine. When this money come in, we no longer use it judiciously again. For example, we were supposed to invest in our infrastructural development,
Mr. Energy, hold your thought. We will come back to you, and then we'll continue from there. Mr. Michael, if you look at the debt management office, probably they are giving us up to about 228.63 trillion naira that Nigeria is currently owing. And you begin to ask yourself, where are we bringing this money to pay back? Because definitely if you are owing, you must pay back. So are you also worried about the credit level of our society today, of our country?
I think even those, first of all, I must congratulate you for inviting us in this exalted and honorable platform. to make our own contribution as Nigerians who want Nigeria to be a better and safer place. Well, I want to say that even the borrowers is giving them a serious concern. How do we keep having a rising debt profile? Because when you look at the indices, like my gentle colleague have said ab initio, they have a beautiful, but matching the intention with the significance is where the problem lies. Yes, you borrowed. Like now, every administration have harped on Lagos-Ibadan Express Road. They have talked about rail project linking from Lagos to Kano, from Kano to Maiduguri, back to Port Harcourt. These are some of the things that have used actually as a measure, as a major reason of borrowing. They talked about second Niger Bridge. Now, for how long will you continue to borrow on this project that had never been completed? Administration after administration. It shouldn't be. Our borrowing should affect our export production. Our borrowing should affect our capital or GDP. Our borrowing should affect every other thing. Take for instance, there have been enough political will to complete some of these projects which are laudable, like the Lagos-Ibadan or the railway project. Somehow, by the indices of multiplying effect, these things can open up, more road for more economic activities. But at the end of the day, you keep borrowing, and yet year after year, all these projects are not completed. And when you're also looking at it, how has this thing impacted on our economic life? You don't see significant increase. This is an economy that is growing at 4.06% instead of 13.06% increase.
You mentioned about second Niger Bridge. So does it not mean that, or we shouldn't borrow to do those kind of projects that, or second Niger Bridge is not laudable enough to borrow and finance?
It's laudable enough, but that's more or less been a siphoning avenue or a major reason why we should borrow more, which shouldn't be. Because when you set out to borrow, you want to set up a business, you have already done your calculations and said, oh, if I borrow 100 naira, it's going to be enough, because you must have done your groundwork, feasibility studies, to say, if I borrow 100 naira, it will be enough to complete this. So why not borrow that money and see to it that you use it to complete that project, instead of administration after administration borrowing on the same project?
And maybe that second Niger Bridge, if we build it now, it was supposed to last a long time.
Definitely.
But why is it that at every point in time we keep borrowing to finance this kind of project? I think that is a concern to us as Nigerians.
A concern, right? That they should answer.
Okay, thank you so much, Mr. Mike. We'll come back to you. Yes, Mr. Energy. Thank you so much. I know that you are up. You know exactly that the present administration again wants to borrow more money of about 5.4 trillion naira to see how they can finance our budget. I don't know if are we not satisfied with the current deficit or the debt we are into? Why then should we continue to borrow again and finance this kind of a project or budget?
Well, they came with the pretense that because of COVID-19, it actually affected our economy. If you could remember, the previous budget was being cut down because of the COVID-19. But the question is, the area we expected them to have touched were not the area they touched. For example, the health, the education, the agriculture, and the mining industry, where they was not supposed to touch. They were the area they touched. Like reducing education budget, reducing agriculture. And agriculture has to do with mining. We have a lot of natural resources that was supposed to have been announced at this time. But these are the area they reduced. But when it comes to their personal life, they could not touch those aspects. Well, we had a very poor borrowing plan. Why do I say this? is because what we are being borrowed for is not what we are using. For example, we started borrowing just like what my colleague said, right from 1999 for capital projects. Where are those capital projects? Sorry. Up till now, we don't have good road. Look at the southeast road. Look at the southwest road. Look at the north central road. Okay. If we are to actually diversify the economy, what happened with our railway? Up till now, we're supposed to have railway linked to, even if it cannot be linked to 36 state and FCT, we should have railway linked to the 6 geopolitical zone so that we can easily travel and do businesses. But what this money are being borrowed for, they are now used for consumable goods. You see us with big cars, see us with flash houses, you see us with go for American for tourists, Europe. It is not that reason for being borrowed for.
But we can't ascertain that those money they are being borrowed is what they are using for their luxurious expenses.
Of course, if you see our current budget, you discover that the lawmakers, their share is over 2.something%. That was not supposed to be like that.
I think we don't have facts to.
Oh, of course, that's what. No, there have been speculation that a lawmaker in Nigeria is richer than the president of America. It's not coming from me.
That is speculation.
Yes.
That has been said. Thank you very much, Mr. Energy, for your
Welcome,
thoughts.
sir.
Thank you so much for still staying with us. You can join us live on Instagram, on our Facebook page, on our WhatsApp page as well, on ABF TV, as well as our YouTube. So thank you so much, my colleague, for sharing your thoughts with us today. Mr. Mike, let me come back to you. You said that we shouldn't borrow to finance second Niger Bridge per se. So what are those areas particularly did you feel that we can borrow? Since you said that borrowing is not a bad thing, we can borrow. So where particularly did you feel that we can borrow to see how, or when we borrow, we should use it to finance that particular area? What particular area is that?
Okay, let me put the record straight before my brothers from the east, who are the major beneficiaries of the second Niger Bridge, will come after me. I didn't say we shouldn't borrow to finance the second Niger Bridge, but I'm saying to now make it that a platform through which we keep borrowing shouldn't be a basis. Okay, now coming to your question, yes, like I said before, it's not a bad thing to have an intention to borrow. But when you borrow, you have to put it on those things that will turn around the economy and improve your, export production or your export giving, what you are giving out to earn more. Because it's when your economy turns around and you are giving out more, not consuming more, that it will even help you to service your loans and to do well. So when we borrow, let's borrow and invest it on capital projects that will also impact positively on the economy. What are you doing with some light industries? What are you doing with some artisans? What are you doing with our roads? What are you doing with the issue of electricity? I have a business up to this moment we are talking. The little business have been running on generator. It shouldn't be. How much are we making that at the end of the day when we balance our accounts, we are seeing that major chunk of the money have gone to PMS, that is premium spirit. It's unfair. So let's borrow and channel them on those things that will turn the economy around, like the power, like the road, like the railway.
Thank you so much for your thoughts. Mr. Energy, I know you have a tape too concerning that. There are some key areas you may feel that when we borrow, let's invest this money particularly on those areas so that it can turn around the livelihood of citizens. What are those particular areas do you think?
Like I earlier said, our railway, we should revive our railway. We could raise a lot of tax from railway.
Will it be particularly railway or transportation
no.
to say?
Transportation generally. We should revive our national carrier. We should revive our railway. We spend much on the road that we are not even seeing. Year in, year out, the same road money is being projected for.
And this was thing that was supposed to last a taste of time.
That is just it. Money is still projected on the same road. Every year they will tell you Lagos Ibadan. Every year they will tell you Lagos to Ibadan. When will the issue of Lagos to Ibadan?
Road.
We have one of the poorest roads in the whole world. See the east-western road is poor. See the east-south road is poor. See the north-central road is very poor.
But they've not mentioned that too. But every year by year is Lagos Ibadan.
If
They have not even seen if they have done that.
Yes, my dear brother. Lagos is being seen as a small country. Our major businesses in Nigeria is in Lagos. Even though it is the inability of the government to make Lagos choke. Because what we're actually doing in Lagos, we can still do it in other states.
Okay.
Is it not the seaport that is choking people in Lagos? We have the same sea in Cross River, we have the same sea in Port Harcourt, we have the same sea in Onitsha, in Anambra State. Why must it be Lagos? So when you borrow to finance a capital project, you could easily raise tax and service your loan. So it's
that should have been my next question. Now, because we are into it already,
yes.
We borrow to some length that is reasonable. To some countries, they will start looking for how they can solve this particular issue. But I think to us, we are less concerned because maybe they feel that tomorrow is not going to be them that are going to pay it. Because subsequently, a particular administration will come and then it will go. So, how did you think that we can now service this our particular budget or deficit?
It might be very funny. Should we say the person giving us the money should come and manage our national life? Because it is almost going to that lean. See China in our country. Most of our borrowing is from China. And 75% of our project is being handled by China.
Yes.
So where is our national position as a country? So those are the major area of the economy that we should work on. See our mining industry. We must pay our debts because that was the agreement. But the question is, what we are actually using the money borrowed for? Is it judiciously used? So my advice is, since we have to pay this debt back, what the money is being borrowed for, let it be used. For example, look at our road. Our roads are bad. If we have good road, people will be happy to pay tax for using the road. Look at our national carrier. It has been closed. Ethiopia depends on airline. We can also have an airline. It worked before. Why is it that it's no longer working? Let it work so that we can now raise tax from them. Look at our mining and agriculture. We have a lot of abundant resources. If we can borrow money and enhance these resources, I think we can easily pay this money back and still have a good national life to live out of the money borrowed.
Thank you so much, Mr. Onoji.
You're welcome.
Thank you.